Nashville is alive with music, sure, but creativity also thrives in our art, marketing, technology, food, and in every corner of our community. On Creative Assembly's The Spark podcast, our mission is to amplify Nashville's diverse creative voices, foster growth through shared journeys, and inspire a city that thrives on collaboration. Each episode will take a deep dive into the lives and passions of Nashville's most innovative minds. We'll explore their creative processes, the challenges they face, and power of collaboration, along with so much more. Welcome to the Spark Podcast, brought to you by Snapshot, a digital agency on a mission to serve with heart, execute with excellence, and build something bigger together. And now, here's The Spark.
Hey everyone, and welcome to The Spark, where Nashville's creative strategy comes to life. Today I'm excited to introduce you to Michelle Keckler, co-founder of KNC Marketing right here in Music City. Michelle brings 15 years of experience from brands like Bridgestone and Franke, and now she helps B2B industrial clients elevate their messaging and grow their business with clarity, creativity, and heart. Today, we're diving deep into brand building, leadership in a results-driven industry, and how strategy and storytelling come together to fuel real growth. Let's get started. Michelle, welcome to the show. Really appreciate you taking time out to share your story. I'm really excited about this episode because, you went from the corporate world after spending many years there. Then you went to the agency side and you started an agency. And so, I know you started KNC Marketing in 2019 after it seems like a decade of corporate experience. What, precipitated you and Danielle to start KNC Marketing?
So thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here today. What started our agency, we're what you would call an accidental agency owner, because what started it was a layoff. My business partner is my cousin, and at the time we had both worked for a large manufacturer, national and global manufacturer, and she was laid off, and she was talking to my husband just in a casual conversation at one point, and he said, all right, Michelle probably will not take this from me, but you should ask her. Y'all need to go out on your own and do your own thing. And so she just sent me a random text message after the dust had kind of settled of her being laid off, and she said, hey, what would you think about starting our own thing? And I was very comfortable in the cube life, and I was like, that's just where I had envisioned my career being in corporate world. And so I was like, that sounds really scary. At the time, I had a 1-year-old, and she didn't have any children yet. But I said, okay, if you can get it started, we'll build a website. If you can go ahead and get it started, I can quit my job if I can make enough to cover daycare. And then that was the deal. And so within 2 months, I was able to quit my job, which was very unexpected. And I was like, well, I got to keep my word on this promise. I told her if we started bringing clients in that I would quit. And it just kind of started from there.
Gosh, that had to have been a really scary time. One, you have a solid corporate career, lots of opportunity there. You have a 1-year-old, and now I'm going to go start an agency. Had to be really scary time.
It was pretty nerve-wracking. I don't think we used the word agency probably for a couple years, because the original vision was just for her and I to freelance and to take on local clients where we lived. And so what really kind of solidified that us starting to even use the terminology of being an agency was just the phone kept ringing, and we kept getting busier and busier. And so I was like, well, we got something here. What are we going to do with it? And that's really how we grew for the first couple of years, was just one client would tell another client about us. And it was just very organic and natural, and a little unexpected, but I'm more the one that's like, oh, what's happening? And then my cousin and business partner, she's like, yeah, let's go. But that's I think what has made us a great partnership over the last almost 7 years. But it just happened naturally. And we're very thankful for those clients that trusted us early on, and told their friends, because that helped us start our business.
That's amazing. So probably like after you hire your first like person beyond you and Danielle, you go, maybe we're an agency now.
Yes, that's exactly how it happened. And we actually hired my best friend, who she worked at Chick-fil-A in marketing for a long time, and similar thing, young mom. We're all working so many hours at these corporate jobs, and I said, can you come help us just like part-time, like whatever, we just need help. And so she's still with us today, and that's a huge blessing. But it just kind of happened like that. Oh, we're busy, we need some help. And we have more systems and processes now, but in those early days it was just kind of taking challenges as they happened and trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of mothers out there that want to like take this journey and create an agency, or maybe even, hey, I want to get into the corporate world, but they've got young children, and I'm sure there's like a dilemma there. Maybe if you could talk just to some of our listeners that might be out there going, how did you handle that? Like with, a young child, and, now you've got a team and everybody's got like young children. How'd you handle that?
Going back to my first big corporate job, I had a realization, and I loved what I did. I was traveling a lot. I got to go to really cool, like, sporting events, and I got to travel to every amazing city in the U.S. almost. And I knew in my heart, I always wanted to be a mom. My family was first, and I saw the challenges that some of the mothers in the corporate world were facing, of like, you've got to go shoot a commercial, you've got to be away from your kids for a week and a half in California, and you're working 12 and 14-hour days. Like, for me, as a younger person with no children, it was amazing, and I got some really great experience really early in my career, which I'm super thankful for. But I just knew that that's not the life that I wanted to lead when I had children. And it was easy for me to think. I wouldn't have said that back then, but it was just always on my heart of like, I've got to find a job or a career that puts my family first. And so I had some other opportunities. I tried some, I worked for a small business where I lived when I first had my son. And then I went back to the company that I was talking about, that was more medium-sized but global company. And that was offered a better schedule, and I was very thankful for that than what I was used to, the traveling and all of that. But when Danielle and I were starting our business, even before she had kids, she knew that she wanted to have a family as well. And so we have said from day one, family first. And us being cousins adds kind of a layer of complexity there, or it could. For us, it doesn't. And people ask us that all the time. They're like, being a family business, like, do you guys even like hanging out outside of work? And we really do. Like, and when we're with our family, we don't talk about work. And when we're at work, we don't necessarily talk about other things, but like family things. But you just have to choose what's important to you. And if that is family, it doesn't necessarily mean that you sacrifice having a career or having the career that you want. Like, maybe you just kind of have to build something that looks the way that you want it to look. And so the things that we've implemented in our agency are, we work from home, which comes with its fair share of challenges, but it's also very rewarding being able to be near my kids' school if I want to go to a program or something, or whatever the case may be. But we also have half days on Fridays where, as moms, many of us are moms of young kids, we don't get a lot of time to go run an errand or go have lunch with a friend or whatever the case may be. So we call them summer Fridays because it was a test at first during the first summer that we did it. But we've all come to really appreciate that time now on Fridays, and just balancing your home life and your work life and making sure you're taking care of yourself is what's important. And it's hard when you have small kids, but for us, that's meant taking on the projects that we know we can really win at, and saying yes to the right things and saying no to the right things if it's a matter of this doesn't align with our core values, or we don't have the capacity for it right now. And so it's sometimes at first it's like hearing other companies that are like, oh, we scaled this fast in 2 years. I was like, oh, why didn't we do that? But looking back at the early days, I'm like, I'm really thankful that it's worked out this way where I had the headspace to, take care of my family and, but also grow a business at the same time.
Man, that is such an amazing lesson too, and appreciate you sharing that. A lot of times I hear from agency employees and agency owners, it's like, work-life balance.
Mm-hmm.
And really what you just described is more of like a work-life integration, where, hey, I figured out how to compartmentalize, the agency work and my home life, because really at the end of the day, family is by far the most important. The agency is going to continue to run, but you got to build it around like your family. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
And let's take it back just a little bit, because we've talked about your corporate experience, but it's not just corporate experience. Like, you had a big role at Bridgestone Americas, and then you moved from there to Franke or Franke, and however you pronounce it, but another big company, and I think you and Danielle both had some similar experience before you started the agency. And so we're not just talking about like, hey, little old corporate experience here. Some pretty big companies. How has that shaped the way that you do B2B marketing today for your current clients?
For sure. When I worked at Bridgestone, I think I was probably the youngest person in that big building for a long time. And it was kind of on the ground floor of digital marketing, which was really cool. I had some great leaders. Michael Fluck and Chris Brashear, when I first came there, were just instrumental in giving me opportunities. But I think what really shaped my thoughts on marketing is how intentional the big brands have been about brand strategy and building brand equity. And I think that's the thing that I've seen being out of the corporate world, is that just tactical, projects and things like that, when many marketers, certainly many clients are unaware of, they need to be building a brand and a story and, consistency, your brand looking consistent across platforms and things like that. But early on in my career, I learned the importance of a brand strategy and cross-channel strategy and things like that. And I think that's what really shaped my my opinion of how we do business now and the things that we want our clients to do. It's all based on building a brand versus, building your social channels or building a website. We don't take the tactical route. We take the brand route, and then what needs to happen to build the brand.
So when you're working with your clients, you create the strategy for them across all the different channels, but you also do a lot of the execution work after you present this strategy to the client. Like, you don't just hand them a deck, you actually integrate all that with them, right?
Yep, we do. It all starts with, where do you want to go? What are your goals? How can we get your business where you want to go? And then we build it out in a way that makes sense for the client. Crawl, walk, run. Like, how can we get to where you want to go based on what digital infrastructure do you have? What's your, who are your customers and what do they need to hear from you? And then all the way down to execution. So, sometimes it happens quickly if the client's ready to rock and roll. And sometimes it's we need to build an entire foundation, or we need to knock it down and start all over. So it depends where the clients are at. But we want our clients to know, we really have your best interest in mind when it comes to building the company that you want, attracting the customers that you want, and getting the results that you want. And we're with them every step of the way. So it's important for us to stick to, not veering off the track if at the bright, shiny thing that's happening over here. We're paying attention, but consistently revisiting the strategy and visiting our analytics and saying, what's happening? Are we achieving the goals that we want? Is it driving revenue? Because if it's not driving revenue, then you probably need to fire me.
Oh man, well that's a great approach. I mean, I know that you guys position yourselves as more of like a strategic partner. You know, you're not just a vendor, you're a partner for your clients. Like how do you think like you guys actually walk that talk with your clients?
The conversation always starts with marketing and brand and things like that, but but what happens is we know that it's not just once we drive a lead or attract a new customer, our job doesn't stop there because that lead is handed off to the sales team. That customer, once the deal is closed, is handed off to the operations team and the customer service, post-purchase team. And so we can have an effect on, what is the customer experience in total? And that's the approach that we like to take, because if the client is saying, well, these aren't going anywhere, but you look at how many leads you're driving and you're like, where's the breakdown here? And sometimes it's in the marketing, you want to fix your kinks there, but sometimes it's in the sales process. Sometimes it's in operations and trying to figure out like, where can we understand that full circle client experience and make tweaks where we can. And my coach, Jason Swank, says, you want your clients bringing you their challenges and their problems, not just their needs and their tactical things. Because when you get to the point where they're bringing you their challenges, it means that they trust you to help fix them. And that was so, it was kind of a stopping moment for me. I was like, that makes so much sense, because if you build that trust and, even if I don't have the answer, but we can work together to find the answer, that's a powerful relationship built on trust, and you've proven that you are a strategic thinker and a critical thinker and you understand their business.
Yeah, that's so important. And I know, you work with Jason, and great guy, got a podcast out there that I listen to. Our coaches, Drew McClellan, they do very similar stuff. And so it's good. I listen to both their podcasts.
Yeah.
So,
Smart people.
Yeah, you have to surround yourself with really smart people. And, speaking of that, I know that both of their philosophies are really niching down and becoming the specialist and not the generalist. And it seems like from the early days, your niche, coming out of, the corporate jobs you did is all around like, manufacturing and industrial type clients, business clients in that sector. And I guess, how do you think that has helped you? Maybe even in the early days, I guess those referrals were all in that, where you just started to niche in that area.
In the early days, we took on anything and everything, and we were just grateful for the business, and we were like, we can help all these people because we understand digital, we understand marketing, and but what happened, we were able to partner with a client and in the B2B industrial space, and thankfully he liked our work and started telling his friends, which was great. But what we realized was we come from market or manufacturing backgrounds. Like, hello, we understand this world. And then I think what also has struck Danielle and I is that, okay, my dad worked in construction my whole life. Her dad worked he's an electrician that worked in manufacturing facilities. We grew up in homes that were hardworking, blue-collar homes, and we just really appreciate the work that goes into these types of companies. And it's so, being in the South, I feel like we have some of the most salt of the earth people, but all over. People in these manufacturing, B2B industrial jobs work really hard, and I just really appreciate what they bring to the world. Because if you think about it, like, how did this product get where it is? It took hands, it took machinery, it took logistics, and those things are all really important to the everyday life that we don't tend to think about. And so I think at the core, we just really appreciate the people and the work that they do, and we want to help them look really good and get the business that they want.
Yeah. Well, you've, after doing a little research on you, it was great to see a testimonial video that you had on your website with one of your clients that spoke just so highly about everything you'd done for their business and how you were a part of almost their team, which is where every agency wants to position themselves. It's just such a stronger, opportunity to continue that growth journey with the client. I guess maybe saying that, like, has there been like a recent opportunity that you've worked on with a client that you go, man, we're really proud of this, this thing, and here's how we achieve some, remarkable like results for the client?
I think one that I believe the client that you're referencing is in the material handling space, and I respect that Sean Jones is the president there, and I respect him so much. What he has encouraged us to do consistently throughout, we've had a quite a long relationship, but he's encouraged us just to, hey, reach out to this leader within the business at this department or on this project, let's pull this person in. And we've been able to build trust among leaders in other departments where now it's not, we have one person that leads all the marketing stuff and we don't know anybody else in the business. We're getting these other people in, the parts department or in sales, like they're thinking about, what tools do I need? What do my customers need from me that maybe marketing can have an effect on? And so building out a digital platform has been instrumental. We recently launched an online rental, like renting a forklift online, which is something that is pretty new in that industry, which is great. But I think what the win has been is just the relationships that we've built where it's not just on one person to try to accomplish, to communicate everything that's happening within the business to me or to our account manager. But instead, we have these direct relationships with leaders within the business that all have different perspectives. They all have different priorities. And us being able to think through that and filter that and make the best recommendations for the client has been huge.
Yeah. Well, I've loved a lot of the stuff you've talked about building a culture. And I guess in the early days, like when did you know immediately, like we need to have a mission and we need to have values? You've talked about like your company's core values. Like at what point in the business did you go, hey, we've now got a business, we've got an agency, now we need to create some values around what we all believe in. When did that happen?
I think we probably had a mission from day one, but we really kind of reevaluated it with more team members being added to the team, and we all worked on them together, and we kind of workshopped it all together, which, I would never tell a client to do that because you're going to get a bunch of wordsmiths trying to figure out a one sentence in a whole day. But I think with a team of creative thinkers and copywriters and me, I'm the one that's always asking questions and pushing back saying, well, what about this? What about that? But what has happened is I believe everything should come back to those core values when it comes to, evaluating how does this fit into is this, helping our families? Is this, if a client comes to us and we feel like this does not align with our values, we use that as a tool to say yes to the right things and no to the right things. And then when it comes to performance on the team, are you living up to the things that, you have committed to this team? And we use that as a mechanism to evaluate how we're doing as a team and how individuals are doing. But they're very, very important to us. And I think I tell clients this all the time. If you are not using your core values in your everyday conversations internally, you're missing out on what their actual purpose is, because they should come to life within your team in various ways, and your clients should see that in the work that you're delivering or the experience that your account manager is providing, whatever the case may be. That should be coming through in your client experience. Yeah,
man, that is a great point too. I mean, of speaking your core values, with your clients and living them every day. It's a another great lesson. So, and I know one, I don't know your core values, but I just know they all revolve around like people first, your team first, your clients first. Like, how do you think those translate into the experience that you give to your clients?
What's important to us is making sure that we're authentic. I think coming from the corporate world, I had the opportunity to work with some of the biggest and best agencies in the world. Many of my team members have come from the corporate world, and we've all seen it. And, the dog and pony show and go to a nice dinner and the whole thing. And a lot of it was fun. We had a lot of great experiences. I met a lot of great, really smart people. But there were also times when I was like, this feels icky and I don't like this. And my mentor is Steve Parker, who owned Level Wing for many years. They just merged with Mind Groove. But when Level Wing was our agency at Bridgestone, the way that he led his team and the way that they presented work to us just felt different. It felt real and transparent, and I didn't feel that from their agency. And I think as our business was growing, I just always thought back to the experiences that I had with that agency, and I always felt like they weren't giving me the runaround. If they messed up, they told us and made it right, and they told us their real opinion on if something was going to work or not. And I just appreciated that as the client, because I don't feel like I'm being sold. I don't feel like you're trying to show off to my CMO and I don't know. I just think that being transparent and honest and having integrity in your work, it all has to come back to that, because people can see through you if you're not. And that's just one thing that we're one of our core values is keep it real. That's what it means. Yes, we want to have integrity and transparency, but we're ourselves. At the end of the day, we are all people that are just trying to accomplish our goals and build our businesses and have great careers. And I think the best way to do that is just being honest and being a good person as often as you can.
Man, it's so important, and appreciate the shout out to Level Wing as well. And they are a great agency, and so I didn't know they'd merged. So it's good
that's
to hear.
recent. Congratulations.
Yeah. Well, you this kind of goes right down the same path, but I guess, you get a new referral in, new client, they don't know you, they are just now getting to learn about you for the first time after our first meeting. How do you build trust quickly in those relationships?
I think it comes down to communication and setting expectations and doing what you say you're going to do. So I tell my team all the time, the only reason why someone can be disappointed is because they had expectations that were not met. And so you have the opportunity to set expectations up front. And hopefully you've, wowed them with your dazzling personality, but you've also given them clear steps of okay, here's what's going to happen next. Here's what's going to happen next. And here's your account manager. And here's how this process is going to go. And then following through, because what that does, the communication is there, the trust building is there, and then you actually are executing early. And on the client side, hopefully it's they're things are happening, things are moving, and, we're getting up and running really quickly. That's what we want. But I think quality communication is something that is so overlooked in our space. And even if it feels overly communicating, I'd rather have that than the opposite side where, clients are I haven't heard from them in 2 weeks. What's going on?
Yeah. Wow. Well, when you and Danielle started the agency, you guys had some great growth early on. What were some of the things that maybe broke down on you early on that you go, God, we got to get this fixed before we can take on the next client or do the next campaign?
I think remote work comes with its fair share of challenges, but also great. We love working that way. But I think from the things that we've had to learn, what tools are going to make us efficient, what processes are going to make us efficient, and Danielle is really strong in creating SOPs and making processes more efficient. And me being on the more sales and strategy side, I tend to just go and not think about the details, where she's, I think that's what makes us great partners, quite honestly. But she's implemented processes, and we have documentation, and even down to hiring, we have a process. And even being smaller, when we were even smaller, having those processes helped us get to the next step. And so if your processes aren't documented, it takes time, but if you just get it on paper, and then even if you're speaking it into your cell phone and saying, here's how we do this, blah, 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 pop that into chat and let it help you. There are tools out there that can make you more efficient. And I think when you're trying to build a business quickly, it's so easy to overlook, oh, we'll figure it out. Or when the next client comes, so-and-so will just jump in and make it happen. It can't work that way. You have to have systems and processes that make sense. And so you're not burning your employees out trying to recreate the wheel every time you get a new client.
Yeah. Well, and we'll talk a little bit about AI before we wrap up the show too, just in maybe how you all are using it beyond just chat, if there are other things you're doing. But I know your agency co-produces a podcast called the Industry Edge podcast. And, for those of you out there, you may want to tune in to that to just hear more about what they're working on. What insights have you gained from that, and maybe all the interviews that you've had on? What have you learned thus far?
I have had the opportunity, and Danielle has had the opportunity to interview some amazing leaders in the B2B industrial space. And I think what has stood out to me the most has been, it's not what you do, like what your company does, or it's about how you lead people. And caring for people at the core is what it needs to come down to. And sometimes, that means building a great culture, but understanding your employees and what makes them tick, what makes them excited, what's a challenge for them, and also learning to have those hard conversations. Like, that's something that I never led anybody before I had this job. I was an individual contributor throughout most of my career, other than, I was like the client and I led relationships with agencies, but it was a whole new thing when I had to learn how to lead people. And so something that I've learned is just loving people through quality direction, quality feedback. I made that mistake very early on where I didn't have the guts to say what needed to happen in a certain project, and it kind of bit me, and it was a learning experience. But I think when you truly make decisions out of caring for people and wanting what's best for your team, making sure everyone's in the right seat and taking the right jobs on, or the right client, it makes a world of difference. And so that's the one thing I've really learned talking to leaders is just, it all starts with people and caring for your team and caring for your clients, and it needs to come back to that.
Yeah, that's great. I guess, what trends do you guys look at today? What are you keeping top of mind in the B2B marketing space?
Obviously, everyone in our world is talking about AI, and that is definitely a thing in our space. We have, automation in B2B industrial space has been a thing for a long time. So there's that. But I think in our space, many of our clients, it's back to basics. Was your website built in 2010? It's probably time to think about changing it. So I would say the industries, many of the clients that we serve are a little behind. We have a lot of legacy businesses that haven't really paid attention to marketing, and now we got to catch up a little bit. But finding tools that are useful for them in lead generation and analytics, and helping them make more informed decisions through data is something that a lot of our clients have not been exposed to yet. And so building the foundation first and then kind of building on that has been our focus.
Yeah. I'm sure there are clients that you pick up that maybe have had an agency in the past. What are some of the common things that you hear from those clients that why they leave their agency in that space?
I think it's just agencies not putting in the work to understand the business and understand what makes that client money. Because if you don't understand that and you're just pitching ideas that are super creative, or they only focus on part of the business that drives 10% of revenue, it's a miss, And so something I've heard a lot is they tried to pitch me this fancy idea and I didn't understand it, and it cost so much money. And so I just said no. Or we worked with them for a while and then I just turned it off, or whatever the case may be. So making sure you understand their business, understand what they understand, and what level of education needs to happen if they have not participated in the marketing space yet. Understanding what makes them money and understanding what makes them tick. And that's something that we try to start with, is just, it comes down to building the relationship and then putting the work into understanding what they do, how they do it, what makes them money, and then helping them find the direction forward.
Yeah. Well, like we've made so many, we've overcame so many opportunities since we launched the agency that I could probably do 10 podcasts on all of those. And, I just want to ask you to be a little bit vulnerable in this, and just, what was one of the bigger challenges maybe that you and Danielle had to overcome to continue the business?
I will say to any leader of people or somebody that's learning to lead people where I've been, and it's trusting your team. Like you're hiring these people and putting them in a position to manage a client relationship or manage creative. For me, my passion has always been in account management, and that's the role that I played in our agency in the early days. Was I was the account manager, and then we added another one, and we kind of tag teamed it. But as our agency has grown, it was hard for me to let the next person do it in their own style, and not so much how I would do it. My friend Darby says, "Take the damn floaties off, Michelle. Like, what are you doing?" And by that he just meant you got to trust your team. You hired really quality people that know what they're doing, and for me, it's it was hard to make the transition out of I'm the person sitting in every meeting and on every call to, okay, now I'm leading this person and training them. And, we have standards that we have the KNC standard. We're very clear on that. But just being comfortable letting my team do their thing, it's kind of scary because this is our baby, and we love it and we care about it. And I care about every piece of content that goes out our door. I want it to be good. And, it comes down to hiring quality people and then trusting them. And that's honestly been the hardest part for me is
Really?
It's tough. And just learning to trust people, and we all make mistakes, and being okay with that. We want it to be as perfect as possible every time and as great of an experience every time. But there's going to come a time where our client's like, hey, this happened or whatever. And just having conversations like, hey, if we mess up, we're going to make it right. And, but for me, that's been the hardest part, is just letting my team do their thing. And honestly, they do it better than me half the time. And so that's been rewarding to see, as well as as I've learned to step back and trust and let it happen. Seeing them thrive in their roles has been super rewarding.
Yeah. That is one of the biggest challenges I think every agency owner and every internal creative team has to overcome is the trust that it takes to delegate things. Was there ever a time that you delegated something and it just went horribly wrong?
Yeah, we have those things happen where maybe the team member didn't have experience, or we outsource something to a creative person or whatever. We get it back and we're like, oh, what's this? It's gonna happen. But the thing is, being kind in your feedback and being clear in your feedback is super important. And I think being critical of work is important in the space that we're in. We want it to be great when it goes out the door, but providing feedback to your team or to a partner in a way that's constructive, like, hey, here's what I see that doesn't align with the client's goals or the client's brand, we need to sell this idea in a little bit stronger. I think if we pivot this way, and I'm still learning how to do that, to give that quality feedback. But I think if you're doing it with the best intentions of, wanting the best for the client, wanting to teach your employee how to be more strategic or how to think more critically, or you want your partner to understand what you actually need, is so important. Because what's going to end up happening is, if you think that, well, nobody's going to be able to do it as best as I can, and then you just, spend 4 hours trying to do it yourself, it's just wasted time and money. So I think quality feedback is key.
Yeah. Well, and there's probably 100 times to 1 that it goes really, really well. Mm-hmm. Was there a time that it was totally shocking because it went better than even if you would have done it?
Yeah, we one of my most recently, one of our account managers, I'm usually on every video photo shoot, and because I love it. We've been really busy, which is great, and she took this project and ran with it for a client, and when it came back, I was like, oh my God, like she accomplished it 10 times faster than I ever would. The client was in the know, the vendor was in the know, like everything was perfectly managed. And I was like, and the end result was phenomenal. And I was just like, well, dang, like they have it. They've got it. Like I just need to step back.
I'm not needed anymore.
Yeah,
Like,
which is kind of sad and scary.
It's actually such a refreshing feeling.
Yeah.
So taking it back to the AI tools, is there something you guys are working on beyond just like chat in the AI world, or maybe even that you're looking down the road to, hey, we may want to do this for our agency or maybe for clients?
We're definitely in the space, we're definitely looking at content creation not from a copywriting perspective, but visuals, video, all of those things, making us more efficient in that front. But right now we're building agents, I'm sure just like every other agency is, but we're also using it to QA our work. We're using it for helping build strategy for our brand and for our clients, and just helping us think through, like, assess our work. I think that's been something that's been really powerful, is like we'll write something. We have a bunch of really creative people on our team, great copywriters. I appreciate copy that is, old school, handwritten, not handwritten, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I think using it where it can make you more efficient is a great thing. I think it still has to come back to like real people. It has to feel real. I think we're all going to just become chat agencies if we let it go too far. But for us, we're trying to be forward thinking and using it to our clients' advantage and to our advantage, while still keeping in mind that relationships, quality communication, humanization is important.
Yeah. Well, I guess, like I've heard you mention a lot of like very strategic things, and, knowing that you work with Jason Swank, I've heard core values, I've heard like systems and processes, right people in right seats type stuff. Is there a methodology that you guys follow, like an EOS or a scaling up, or is it like something Jason has that's his own?
The beautiful thing about, we don't necessarily do EOS or anything that is in a book.
Yeah.
But what has worked for us has been surrounding ourselves with other agency owners and people that we're all just figuring it out and figuring out what works for us, and what our best practices in other agencies. And I think being in a community is so powerful. So you can your eyes can be opened. For us, being remote is something you really have to invest in learning. So getting yourself out there, whether it's coming to the creative assembly, that they're here in your building, you just meet people and you get different perspectives and your eyes are opened a little bit wider. And I think when you're part of a community, I never expected to have many gives, but we've had other agency owners reach out to us and be like, hey, how do you do this? And for us, we're certainly like, hey, who is doing this way, or what works for you? And these people are willing to get on the phone with us and say, here's what works for us, or here's this SOP or this document. And it is game changing when you have people around you that are speaking into your business and you as a individual, and making you better, and also just encouraging you when you're down. I think if you have a big loss, you didn't get the deal, or you lost a key employee, or you're feeling burnout, whatever the case may be, like having people that are going to say, hey, snap out of it, or here, let's go. I'm holding your hand. Let's go. And that's been huge for us.
Yeah, it's super important, and I really appreciate the shout out to Creative Assembly. And it was great seeing you there. I would say that's the whole purpose of what we're trying to create here with the Spark Podcast, is really breaking down those barriers of like competition. And I love being in groups like you're talking about, where just you can reach out to a group of agency owners who's been there and done it. And you get the exact insight that you're looking for. This is so powerful, and nobody looks at each other as competition. It's like, Michelle, how can I help you be more successful, because when you're more successful, we're all more successful.
Totally agree.
And so that's great you sharing that. So as we wrap up, I guess just the last question for you, just what's a personal insight that maybe people don't know about you or wouldn't ever know about you? Is there any one thing?
I struggle with imposter syndrome a lot. And I think I struggle with it every day, and I'm working constantly to overcome that. But what has been great for me to realize over the years is you're stronger than you think. You're more creative than you think. You know, for people that struggle with what I struggle with, I have to remind myself, like, you've overcome a lot. You know, I didn't grow up in an entrepreneurial family, and now I love working in a partnership, and I love building a business. And I was never a morning person, and now I exercise early in the morning, and I'm like, dang, like I did that, you know. And so it's not a place of arrogance. It's just like life is challenging, and balancing, making time for your family, making time for your friends, making time for yourself, making time for, you know, getting good sleep so you can be great at work the next day. Like, it's challenging to have the discipline, the self-discipline to do those things. But I think when you are intentional about your life, and making time for the things that are important to you, is so important. But also just appreciating the fact that you've got this. Like, on our team, we say everything is figure outable. And we all say that all the time. We say, we'll get it done, and everything is figure outable, because you just have the grit and the determination. And I think that's why I love B2B Industrial, is because there's so much grit and passion. And it doesn't mean every day is going to be perfect, but if you show up and keep showing up, it's going to happen for you. And I'm really thankful for my partner and cousin, Danielle. She's been my rock through this whole thing. And you know, we have our conversations where we're like, I think this, and she's like, I think that, and we have to work through a lot, but we respect one another, and we love one another, and we're learning so much. Even 7 years in, we have a lot to learn, but I'm really thankful that I've surrounded myself with people who have encouraged me to be my best self, and I think it's important to surround yourself with those people who are going to build you up.
Wow. Well, I have learned so much from you today. It's been incredible. And, you know, if I could give you one thing, like, I also suffer from imposter syndrome. And not only that, but I would want everybody to know that probably 99% of the agency owners that are listening to this podcast all suffer from the same thing. I mentor a group of business owners, and this just came up a week ago. And one of them said, hey, how do you overcome imposter syndrome? And like, everybody went around and they all said, yeah, I suffer from that. I suffer from that. It got to me, and I'm like, guys, I mean, I could give you some experience shares on this, but I also suffer from this too. Anybody that's running a business, you know, suffers from that. And so just know you're in a good crowd.
Absolutely. I know it. I appreciate, you know, you've been vulnerable with me and the challenges and the wins and sharing how your business has grown over the years, and it's huge. I mean, it's not I think I thought, like, everybody knows what they're doing but me, but that's not the truth. Like, we're all just trying to figure it out. We're trying to figure out where we fit in the world, and I think vulnerability is such a huge part of that. Just being truthful about where you're at and what your challenges are, and you know, people, you find your crew when you're vulnerable with people.
Yeah. And that's a wrap of another inspiring episode of The Spark. Huge thanks to Michelle for joining us and unpacking brand strategy, client-first culture, and how creativity and commerce intersect in meaningful ways. If today's episode gave you ideas or momentum, we did our job. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and leave us a review. Until next time, keep sparking creativity and building brands with purpose. Thanks for joining the show.
And that's a wrap on this episode of The Spark from Creative Assembly. Thanks for spending time with us and exploring the minds shaping Nashville's creative future. If you're walking away more inspired, connected, or energized, that's exactly the point. A big thank you to our sponsor, Snapshot, and the incredible team behind the scenes who make this show possible. Your support fuels every conversation and keeps collaboration alive. So if you haven't already, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a review. Thanks again for tuning in. Until next time, stay creative, stay curious, and keep that spark.